The silence of the deep night, a silence that has held the medieval monastery in its embrace for several hours, begins to yield, not to a sudden clamor, but to a deep, resonant call that echoes softly through the stone corridors and sleeping chambers. It is the awakening bell, its voice a familiar and ancient sound, a gentle summons to the day that is yet to fully break. For the monks within these hallowed walls, this is not merely a call to rise, but a gentle nudge back into the rhythm of their devotion, a return to the cycle of prayer and contemplation that shapes their existence.
Imagine the quality of this pre-dawn quiet, a profound stillness broken only by the softest sounds within the monastery itself. Perhaps the creak of a wooden door as a monk rises, the almost imperceptible shuffle of feet on stone. The air would be cool, carrying the faint scent of stone, and perhaps the lingering aroma of beeswax from the candles burned during the night's vigils. There is a palpable sense of peace, a tranquility born from lives dedicated to prayer and detachment from the often turbulent world beyond. The bell continues its gentle pronouncements, each toll a measured beat in the slow unfolding of the monastic day. It is not a demanding sound, but rather an invitation, a call to gather and begin the first of the canonical hours, matins. This early morning office, observed before the full light of day, sets the tone for all that will follow. It is a time for quiet reflection, for the communal recitation of psalms, and for the gentle turning of the mind towards God. Picture the monks, their simple woolen habits the color of earth or undyed wool, moving with a quiet purpose. There is no need for spoken words. The bell serves as their guide, their shared understanding of the day's rhythm, a silent language. They have left behind the concerns and clamor of the outside world, their lives now circumscribed by the walls of this sacred enclosure, their focus directed heavenward. The chapel, even in this pre-dawn gloom, exudes a sense of ancient sanctity. The stone walls, worn smooth by centuries of prayer, seem to absorb the silence and then release it, imbued with a sense of the sacred. The air is cool and still, carrying the faint scent of incense that may have lingered from previous services. As the monks take their places, there is a quiet settling, a collective drawing inward as they prepare their hearts and minds for the morning's devotion. Consider the weight of tradition in this moment. For generations, monks in this very place, and in countless others across the medieval world, have begun their days in this way. This shared ritual connects them not only to their present community, but also to a long lineage of faith, a continuity of devotion that stretches back through the centuries. There is a profound comfort in this regularity, a sense of being part of something larger and timeless. As the darkness outside slowly recedes, a subtle shift occurs within the chapel. The flickering candlelight now competes with the nascent light of dawn, painting the stone walls with a soft, ethereal glow. The monks, gathered in the semi-darkness, prepare to begin matins, their voices soon to rise in the ancient chants that have echoed through these sacred spaces for centuries. This is the gentle grind of their spiritual lives, the daily rhythm of devotion that brings order and meaning to their existence. It begins not with a jolt, but with the soft, persistent call of the awakening bell, a peaceful transition from the stillness of night to the quiet contemplation of the new day. With the gentle summons of the awakening bell now faded into the quiet hum of anticipation, the monks begin the first of the canonical hours, matins. This early morning office, often observed in the liminal space between night and day, is a cornerstone of their daily devotion, a communal act that binds them together in prayer and sets the spiritual compass for the hours ahead. The air in the chapel is thick with a sense of ancient ritual, the very stones seeming to resonate with the countless prayers that have been offered within these walls over the centuries. The texts recited during matins are drawn primarily from the Psalms, those timeless poems of praise, lament, and reflection that have echoed through the hearts of believers for millennia. The rhythm of the chanting is deliberate, each syllable given its due weight, the rise and fall of the voices creating a tapestry of sound that is both soothing and profound. There is a beauty in this ancient form of prayer, a connection to a tradition that transcends the individual and links the present community to the long history of monastic life. Imagine the experience of being present in this chapel at the dawn of the day. The soft light filtering through the windows, the gentle cadence of the chanting, the shared sense of purpose among these men who have dedicated their lives to seeking God. There is a profound stillness that underlies the sound, a sense that the world outside, with its hurried pace and worldly concerns, has been deliberately left behind. Here, within these walls, time seems to slow, measured by the rhythm of prayer and the turning of the liturgical year. The content of the psalms recited during Matins often speaks of the transition from darkness to light, a theme that resonates with the time of day. There are verses of praise for God's creation, reflections on the human condition, and pleas for guidance and strength. As the monks chant these ancient words, they are not merely reciting texts, they are internalizing them, allowing the wisdom and the emotion contained within to shape their thoughts and their spirits. Consider the discipline involved in this daily rhythm of prayer. To rise before dawn, to gather in the dim light, to focus the mind and the voice on these sacred texts. It requires a dedication that is both profound and unwavering. This is the gentle yet persistent work of the monastic life, the slow cultivation of a spiritual awareness that permeates every aspect of their day. The Latin language, the lingua franca of the medieval church, adds another layer to the experience. For some of the monks, it is a language they have studied and understand deeply. For others, the meaning may be less precise, but the sound, the rhythm, and the familiarity of the words themselves carry a weight of tradition and sanctity. It is a language that connects them to a vast intellectual and spiritual heritage. As Matins progresses, there may be moments of silence, brief pauses between the chanted verses that allow for individual reflection. In these moments, each monk can internalize the words they have just spoken, allowing them to resonate within their own hearts and minds. It is a time for a quiet turning inward, a personal communion with the divine within the communal act of prayer. The length of Matins can vary, but it is typically a substantial office, setting a significant portion of the early morning aside for prayer and reflection. This commitment to beginning the day in this way underscores the central role that prayer plays in the monastic life. It is not simply an obligation, but a source of strength, guidance, and connection to the divine. Think of the enduring nature of this ritual. Centuries have passed. The world outside has changed immeasurably, yet within these monastic walls, this ancient practice continues, a testament to the enduring power of faith and the timeless need for connection with something greater than oneself. The gentle grind of the monastic day begins here, in the soft light and the measured tones of Matins, a peaceful and profound commencement. The gentle scratching sound of quills on parchment becomes the dominant audio. Intermittent soft sounds, like the turning of pages, the dipping of a quill into ink, and perhaps a very quiet sigh can be present. Following the communal devotion of Matins, the rhythm of the monastic day transitions to more individual, yet equally vital tasks. For many monks, a significant portion of their morning would be spent in the scriptorium, the monastery's writing room. Here, amidst a profound silence, punctuated only by the delicate scratching of quills upon parchment, the intellectual and artistic heart of the medieval monastery beat steadily. The scriptorium was not merely a place for copying texts, it was a center of learning, preservation, and the meticulous creation of knowledge that would often endure for centuries. Imagine the focused concentration in this room. Each monk, hunched slightly over his work, is engaged in a painstaking process that demands both precision and patience. The quill, typically fashioned from the feather of a goose, swan, or other large bird, is their primary tool. Carefully shaped and trimmed to a fine point, it becomes an extension of their hand, capable of forming the elegant letters of the medieval script. The ink, often made from natural ingredients like oak galls, vitriol, and gum arabic, flows deliberately from the tip, each stroke contributing to the overall beauty and legibility of the text. The parchment itself, usually made from animal skins, sheep, calf, or goat, was a precious and carefully prepared material. Its smooth, pale surface provided the ideal canvas for the scribe's art. Before writing could even begin, the parchment often needed to be ruled with faint lines to guide the uniformity of the script. This meticulous preparation underscores the value placed on the written word within the monastic community. For some monks within the scriptorium, their work extended beyond simple copying. These were the illuminators, the artists who would bring the texts to life with vibrant colors and intricate designs. Using fine brushes and pigments derived from minerals and plants, they would create stunning borders, ornate initial letters, and detailed illustrations that often depicted scenes from the scriptures or other important texts. The application of gold leaf, a delicate and time-consuming process, would add a touch of ethereal beauty to these precious volumes. Consider the silence of the scriptorium, a silence that fostered deep concentration. In a world filled with the sounds of manual labor and communal life, this room offered a sanctuary for intellectual pursuit. The monks here were the custodians of knowledge, painstakingly preserving and transmitting the wisdom of the past to future generations. Their work was a form of devotion in itself, a dedication to the power and importance of the written word. The texts being copied and created within the scriptorium were diverse. They included the Holy Scriptures, the writings of the Church Fathers, philosophical treatises, historical chronicles, and even scientific and medical texts. The monastery often served as a vital center of learning in its region, and the scriptorium was its engine, diligently producing the books that would fill its library and sometimes be shared with other institutions. Imagine the dedication required to copy an entire book by hand. It could take months, even years, of patient labor, each word, each letter, meticulously formed. There were no printing presses to speed the process. Every volume was a unique creation, a testament to the skill and perseverance of the scribe. This slow, deliberate process fostered a deep engagement with the text, a level of understanding that might be lost in the speed of modern reproduction. The development and refinement of medieval scripts were also a crucial aspect of the work done in the scriptorium. The clear and legible Carolingian minuscule, for example, played a vital role in the standardization and dissemination of knowledge across Europe during the Carolingian Renaissance. The monks in their scriptoria were not just copying, they were shaping the very way information was recorded and transmitted. The tools themselves, the quills, the ink, the parchment, were often prepared with great care. The selection of the right feather for a quill, the precise mixing of the ink to achieve the desired consistency and color, the stretching and smoothing of the parchment to create a suitable writing surface, all of these were part of the craft, skills passed down through generations of monastic scribes. Consider the atmosphere of quiet industry in the scriptorium. While the monks worked individually, there was a shared purpose that bound them together. They were all contributing to the larger mission of the monastery, the preservation and dissemination of knowledge, the glorification of God through the beauty of the written word. The gentle scratching of the quills, the soft turning of pages, these were the sounds of intellectual labor, the quiet hum of minds engaged in the important work of preserving and creating knowledge. In the gentle grind of the monastic day, the hours spent in the scriptorium were a testament to the enduring power of the written word and the dedication of those who served as its guardians. As the morning progresses, the monastic routine often includes time spent in the gardens. These were not merely areas for sustenance, though they certainly served that purpose, providing fruits, vegetables, and herbs essential for the community. More than that, the gardens were spaces for quiet contemplation, a place to connect with the natural world, and an opportunity for gentle physical activity amidst the more intellectual and spiritual pursuits that filled much of their day. A stroll through the monastery gardens was often a balm for the soul, a chance to observe the intricate beauty of creation. Imagine the sensory experience of these enclosed havens, the vibrant greens of the foliage, the colorful blossoms of various flowers, the rich aroma of herbs released into the air by the warmth of the sun, the gentle sounds of nature, the rustling of leaves in a light breeze, the cheerful song of a robin perched on a branch, the busy hum of bees collecting nectar from the flowers, all contributed to an atmosphere of tranquility and peace. For the monks, the gardens could also be seen as a reflection of the divine order, a microcosm of God's creation. Observing the growth of plants, the changing seasons, the delicate balance of the ecosystem, could inspire contemplation on the larger mysteries of faith. The intricate design of a flower, the resilience of a vine, the bounty of a fruit tree, all could be seen as evidence of a benevolent creator. Many monastery gardens also had practical purposes beyond mere sustenance. Medicinal herbs were often cultivated with great care, their properties understood and utilized for healing within the community. The knowledge of these plants and their uses was often passed down through generations of monks, making the garden an important resource for the monastery's well-being. Consider the gentle rhythm of working in the garden. Unlike the more intense labor of the fields outside the monastery walls, tending to the enclosed gardens often involved quieter, more focused tasks. Weeding, planting, pruning, watering. These activities allowed for a different kind of engagement, a more direct interaction with the earth and its bounty, often performed in a mindful and unhurried way. Some monastery gardens also featured small water features, like fountains or ponds. The gentle sound of flowing water added to the sense of peace and tranquility, and these areas could serve as places for quiet reflection, or perhaps even a brief respite from more demanding tasks. Imagine the changing light throughout the day as it filters through the leaves and casts dappled shadows on the paths. The garden would have a different character in the cool of the early morning, the warmth of midday, and the soft glow of the late afternoon. Each time of day would offer a different perspective on its beauty and its quietude. Consider the variety of textures within the garden, the smooth stones of a path, the rough bark of a tree, the soft velvety leaves of a plant. The layout of the monastery gardens was often thoughtfully planned. There might be a separate herb garden, an orchard, a vegetable patch, and perhaps a more ornamental area for quiet contemplation. The paths might wind gently, inviting a slow and unhurried exploration of the space. Consider the opportunity the gardens provided for a different kind of learning. While the scriptorium fostered intellectual growth through books, the gardens offered a direct encounter with the natural world, a chance to observe the principles of growth, decay, and renewal firsthand. This connection to the earth was an important aspect of the monastic life, grounding their spiritual pursuits in the tangible reality of creation. The gentle stroll through the monastery gardens was therefore more than just a break from other duties. It was an opportunity for sensory engagement, for quiet reflection, and for a deeper appreciation of the natural world as a manifestation of the divine. In the gentle grind of the monastic day, the time spent amongst the plants and the quiet sounds of nature offered a different kind of nourishment, a peaceful respite for the mind and the spirit. As the morning hours unfold, the rhythm of the monastic day is punctuated by the recitation of the lesser canonical hours. Following the more substantial office of matins, the monks would gather again around mid-morning for terce, the third of these hours. These shorter periods of prayer served as spiritual anchors throughout the day, brief moments of communal devotion that helped to refocus their minds on God amidst their various tasks. Terce typically occurs around the third hour after sunrise, hence its name. It is a moment to pause from the morning's activities, whether those were in the scriptorium, the gardens, or other duties, and to collectively turn their hearts and minds heavenward. The prayers recited during terce are often shorter than those of matins, but carry the same weight of tradition and devotion. The content of terce often includes hymns, psalms, and short readings from Scripture, all chosen to be appropriate for this time of day. There is a sense of continuity with the earlier prayer of matins, a carrying forward of the morning's devotion into the heart of the day's activities. These moments of prayer help to infuse the entire day with a spiritual purpose. Imagine the brief stillness that descends upon the monastery as the bell signals the time for terce. Whatever tasks were underway are temporarily set aside as the monks make their way back to the chapel. This interruption, though brief, serves as a reminder of the primacy of prayer in their lives. The communal recitation of terce reinforces the shared nature of the monastic life. Though much of their day might be spent in individual pursuits, these moments of prayer bring them together as a community, united in their faith and their commitment to God. The sound of their voices, rising together in prayer, creates a powerful sense of unity. Consider the brevity of terce compared to matins. It is a moment to refresh the spirit, a brief spiritual respite before returning to the day's labors. This rhythm of longer periods of work, interspersed with shorter periods of prayer, help to maintain a balance in the monastic life, preventing either physical labor or intellectual pursuit from overshadowing their spiritual focus. The language of the prayers, typically Latin, continues to connect them to the broader tradition of the Church. The familiar words and melodies would have been deeply ingrained, offering a sense of comfort and continuity. Even if the precise intellectual understanding varied, the act of reciting these ancient texts held a profound spiritual significance. Imagine the feeling of returning to one's tasks after the brief but meaningful observance of terce. There would likely be a renewed sense of purpose, a feeling of being spiritually grounded as they continued their work. These mid-morning prayers served as a reminder of the ultimate goal of their lives and the context within which all their activities took place. As the morning progresses towards noon, the gentle rhythm of the monastic day leads the community to the refectory, the communal dining hall. Here, sustenance is taken in a spirit of simplicity and moderation, often accompanied by the quiet reading of Scripture or other edifying texts. The meal is not merely a physical necessity, but another aspect of their communal life, a shared act performed with a mindful awareness of their vows and their devotion. Imagine the atmosphere of the refectory. While conversation might be permitted depending on the specific monastic rule, it is generally kept to a minimum, fostering a sense of quiet contemplation, even during the act of eating. The focus is not on the enjoyment of elaborate food, but on the nourishment needed to sustain the body for the day's work in prayer. The simplicity of the fare is deliberate, reflecting the monastic commitment to poverty and detachment from worldly pleasures. The meals would have varied somewhat depending on the season and what the monastery could produce or acquire, but they were generally plain and nourishing, avoiding excessive richness or indulgence. Often, during the meal, one of the monks would read aloud from Scripture, the lives of the saints, or other spiritually enriching texts. This practice served to nourish the soul while the body was being sustained. The gentle cadence of the reading would fill the refectory, providing a focus for contemplation and preventing idle chatter. Consider the communal aspect of this daily ritual. The monks eat together, sharing the same simple food in the same austere setting. This shared experience reinforces their sense of community and their equality within the monastic order. There is a humility in partaking in this simple sustenance together. The utensils would have been basic, perhaps wooden spoons and simple knives. The plates and bowls might have been made of wood, earthenware, or perhaps pewter in some monasteries. There was a practicality to everything, a focus on function over elaborate design. Imagine the quiet sounds, the scraping of a spoon against a bowl, the tearing of bread, the soft murmur of the reading monk's voice. These sounds create a unique soundscape, one of peaceful necessity and shared routine. The duration of the meal would have been sufficient to allow for proper nourishment, but not prolonged. There was a sense of efficiency, a recognition that time was a precious commodity to be used wisely, whether in prayer, work, or study. Consider the mindful approach to eating. The monks were encouraged to eat with gratitude, recognizing that this sustenance was provided by God. There was likely a prayer of thanksgiving before and after the meal, further emphasizing the spiritual dimension of this daily necessity. In the gentle grind of the monastic day, the meal in the refectory was a moment of necessary physical replenishment taken within the context of their spiritual discipline. It was a simple